Namaste. Today we get to practice moon salutation together. Moon salutation has the name of Chandra Namaskar, and it is a good practice to calm down in the evening or to calm down when we have too much heat in our body. It is a set of restorative poses that flows nicely together. I'll walk you through the first round of it very slowly and explain the individual postures, and then we'll create more of a flow. We're going to start on one side of the mat in Samastiti. Inhale, raise your arms up. Interlace your fingers. Index fingers can be pointing up. And then bend towards the outward side with the exhale. Inhale, slowly come back to center. And with the exhale, bend towards the inner side. Make your side really long. Feel the rib cage expanding. And with your inhale, come back up. With the exhale, bring the arms back down. And then step your feet wide, 3 to 4 feet apart, into a star pose. Then turn your feet outward, raise your palms, and come into goddess pose. Bring your fingers together into Jan Mudra. That means the tips of your index fingers and your thumbs are touching. The goddess pose pulls the shoulders down, the shoulder blades come together. You're really strong and tall here. And you want to sink as low as your hip flexibility and your thigh strength allow for it. With an inhale, come back up into star, turn the foot where we started inwards, and then extend the other arm outwards and let that hand come down onto the ankle, and we'll come into triangle pose. The other arm reaches towards the ceiling, and if your neck is okay with it, lift your gaze along with that. Make sure that your spine is really long from the top of your head all the way to the bottom of your tailbone. With an exhale, bring the other hand back down. Turn the back foot a little more inward and maybe shorten your stance a tad so your hips can be aligned forward into pyramid pose. Exhale over that leg. With an inhale, bring the back leg further back and lower the knee down into a low lunge. Untuck the back toes, inhale your arms up, interlace the fingers, and add a back bend here. Become really long again from the bottom of your tailbone to the top of those fingertips in a slight back bend. And with an exhale, bring the arms back down. From here, we're going to tuck the back toes and we're going to come sideways into Skandasana. Interlace your fingers, press the palms forward. You want to have activated inner and outer thighs here to maintain stable in the pose. With another inhale, bring the fingers back down. Maybe you come into Malasana on the transition over to the other side, and then we'll meet in a Skandasana on the other side of the mat, palms facing forward again. And from here, the series continues almost like a mirror image. So we're going to turn the other back leg now and tuck the back toes, come onto the knee. Inhale the arms up in a low lunge. Add a slight back bend, make sure your lower back stays long. Bring the arms back down. Inhale, tuck the back toes, maybe make the stance a bit shorter. All toes are pointed forward so your hips are in alignment, and we're in pyramid pose again. And step that foot back a tiny bit and open it to the side so we have space for triangle pose. The top arm reaches towards the ceiling. Your gaze, your drishti, follows the hand. And then from here, we come back to center, to star pose, and then into goddess pose. Bring your thumbs and index fingers together in Jnana Mudra, pose of wisdom. And then we're going to step to the other side. So we're going to close our feet, bring the arms up, and we're going to do another round of side bends, first to the outside. Inhale back to center. Exhale towards the inside. Inhale back to center. And with the next exhale, lower your arms. This is your basic version of Chandra Namaskar, of moon salutation. There's a number of modifications that we can carry out to make some of the poses a bit more accessible. In the first round, I did not want to talk about all the modifications so it wouldn't confuse you. If some of these felt a bit too strenuous, or if your body is currently not in the position to do them, let's look at a couple of modifications that we can do here on the second half of this round. We started on this side of the mat, now we're over on this side of the mat, and we're going to repeat that cycle going back to the other side, and then we'll have completed one full cycle of moon salutation. A usual recommendation for the practice is doing 5 full rounds. So for the second half of the first full cycle, I'm going to point out a couple of modifications. So we're going to inhale our arms up again, interlace fingers, exhale, side bend towards the outward side. So here, if this is too strenuous, make sure, or if it feels strenuous, make sure you find a lot of length in between that. Mine is now the right heel, the inside heel, and the hand that goes with it. Find a lot of length here. So it's not so much about scrunching myself to the side, it's about finding length and then reaching from there. Inhale back to center. Same on the other side. It's not so much about how far can I bend myself, it's more how far can I reach and then add a bit of a bend so that I can feel the maximum length on this outside bow. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, lower your arms. Inhale, take a wide stance, star pose. Now for goddess pose, you turn your feet outward, you bend your elbows and your knees, and the lower you bring your hips here, the more strenuous it's going to be for your thighs. In Hatha Yoga, of course, we do want to strengthen our body, and as Chandra Namaskar is a calming sequence, it is not about pushing the most that we can. It is about finding the right level of practice that is good for our body today. So you feel into your hips, how far they're willing to open, and you feel where your level of lowering yourself is today, so you can comfortably hold the pose for about 3 breaths, and that's where you stay. For some of us, that might mean that we barely have the knees bent. For others, that may mean that we're really deep down here. And know that there is no judgment. You do your level of practice. It is an individual practice. From here, we straighten the arms, we turn this foot inward, and we go towards triangle pose. Important for your triangle pose alignment is to reach with that front arm and then bring the hand down. Now, some of you may be so flexible that you can place your hand down next to your foot without bending your hip out of the way. So you want to have the hip open to the front here, and you want to stay in one plane. So you notice that if your body starts doing this with the hip, that you're trying to reach too far down. If I were to put my hand all the way down here, I realize that I have to turn. So instead, I'm going to keep my fingertips on the ankle here to allow myself to stay open and have one plane. And then from here, we lower the second hand And I realize for my flexibility, it works better if I shorten the stance a little bit. Also, this allows me to close the second leg, so I'm fully facing that leg. And maybe you need a block here, or maybe you place your hands on the shins. And that's an okay modification to make. And then we're gonna take a long stance and bring the back knee onto the mat. Now, if you have very sensitive knees, you can always put a mat underneath or a folded blanket. You wanna make sure that your front knee is over your ankle, so your knee is in a stable position. Different teachers have different opinions on that. For me, it seems like a safe way to practice. Therefore, I recommend it for you to do so. With your inhale, bring your arms up. And then with the exhale, allow an opening of especially the heart space here. Now, if you look at my back down here, I try to keep that as long as possible. I don't fall into a back bend here. I lengthen and then open the heart space. So as soon as you feel some crunchiness down in the lower back, make sure that you lengthen first and then lean into the back bend. Inhale, bring the arms forward again and down to the mat. Now for the next pose, Skandasana, turning to the side here, this may be a strain on some hips, and there are several ways of how we can adapt this pose and modify this pose. First of all, maybe we're up here. Second, if we're a little lower, maybe we put some blocks here for the hands. Maybe as you lower, you notice, oh, my heel needs to come off the mat. All of that are okay modifications. For some of us, the ankle flexibility is limited by bones touching at the front, and that means independent of how much I practice, maybe my heel will never touch the ground. For others of us, when we practice, maybe one day the heel does touch the ground. And for other people, it has always been easy to have the heel on the ground. And then you want to keep this leg active and the knee pointed outwards. And then extend your palms forward. And then we move to the other side. Same over here. Maybe your sides are different, that's okay. Maybe you had an injury once on one hamstring, and therefore one is more flexible than the other. So whatever you need to adjust to make this pose practicable for you, please do so. There can always be blocks and blankets underneath to keep you in a safe space when practicing. And then we turn towards the side of the mat again for the low lunge on the other side. Inhale your arms up. And again here, I choose to keep the ankle underneath the knee for additional stability. And I lean into the back bend, especially opening my heart space, and it feels really nice to feel that opening across the chest here. Inhale, come back up. With an exhale, place the hands back down. Inhale, tuck the back foot, and we're stepping it shorter to come into a pyramid pose. So pyramid pose, again, depending on your flexibility, maybe your hands are on the shin or on the ankle, or even higher here. Or you could put a block on the side. And then from here, we open the back foot a little further, place the front fingertips on the ankle or on the shin, depending on how flexible your hip can open up here. You want to keep the body in one plane and the fingertips reaching upward, and your gaze can follow if that's okay for your neck. And with your next inhale, you can come back to center, come back into a goddess pose, elbows at shoulder level, hips as low as they will allow you to go here, knees and toes pointing outward, knees in alignment over the toes. Beautiful. And then we step back onto the side of the mat where we started. Bring the hands up, interlace fingers. We bend towards the outward side, reaching long and reaching to the side. Inhale back to center. Inhale and reach to the other side. Back to center. And then lower your arms into Samastiti. So that was a complete round of moon salutations. You now have an idea of where you can modify to better suit your physical abilities and needs of today's practice. And we will do another full cycle, a bit more in rhythm with the breathing, so that you can get the flowy feeling of it. Chandra Namaskar. Inhale. Exhale, side bend. Inhale. Exhale, side bend. Inhale to center. Exhale, step wide into star pose. Inhale, lower into goddess pose. Exhale, straighten the arms. Reach the left arm out. Come down into triangle pose with the exhale. Become long with the other fingertips towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring both hands on the mat, change into pyramid pose. Inhale, step the back leg back further, come down into a low lunge. Inhale, your arms up here, back bend. Inhale, bring the hands back down onto the mat, tuck the back toes, change into Skandasana. Reach your palms forward. Inhale, come through the center, Skandasana on the other side. Inhale, bring your hands down to the mat, tuck the back toes, come into a low lunge, untuck. Inhale, your arms up, exhale into a back bend. Inhale, come back up, exhale, hands onto the mat. Step the back foot forward enough to come into a pyramid pose. Exhale here. Inhale, open the back foot and come into a triangle pose. Exhale here, reach your fingertips longer. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale into goddess pose. Inhale, step to your left side, arms up. Exhale towards the outside of the mat. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, other side bend. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, lower your hands. Second half of the cycle. Inhale, your arms up. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, back up. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, back up. Exhale, step your feet wide, come into star, and then goddess pose. Inhale, reach the right arm forward and come into triangle pose. Exhale, bring the arm down, come into pyramid pose. Inhale, step back, come into a low lunge, raise your arms. Exhale here into a back bend. Inhale, come back forward. Exhale, tuck. And then change into Skandasana. Palms forward. Inhale, change Skandasana on the other side. Exhale, bring the hands down. Come into a low lunge on the other side. Raise your arms. Exhale, back bend. Inhale, bring the hands back down. Step it closer into pyramid pose. Lower your head to your leg. Inhale, change into triangle pose. Gaze follows your fingertips. With your next exhale, stand back up, star pose. Exhale into goddess pose. Inhale to the side. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, back to center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale, back to center. And lower your hands. For a complete practice, do 3 more rounds of the moon salutation. Namaste.